chasing a road to glory, driven since I was a child.
If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, work day and night for it.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. 6:45, and out first meeting, 8 o'clock, then a 9 o'clock call, then into the office, a little one-on-one training, a little coaching, follow-up phone calls, follow-up emails. Was out sick yesterday, cough, cold, type symptoms. Didn't want to pass it on to anybody because it was kind of the early stages. So I've got to do the podcast. I'll do tomorrow, yesterday's as well, focusing on leadership and delegation. Today with career, climbing the corporate ladder. Don't know if I'll focus that one in on networking to be able to know of different opportunities that exist out there, or I might talk about just overall recruiting and what it looks like from the employer's perspective. Let's do that. That sounds more exciting. Hey there, everybody. Just finished the Crazy Asian podcast. Was focusing on two, actually, because I was out sick yesterday. But the first one was on leadership. And too many leaders and managers have the adage of, well, if it's got to be done right, it's got to be done by me. That has to be the weakest leadership line ever to be said. Because you as a leader, the whole point of you being in your role is to help a team get together where they need to go. And so whether that's hitting the project deadline, whether it's hitting the project budget, whether it's being able to make sure that you can get the job done, then that means you have to do it collectively, not individually, not the manager coming in at midnight to get the job done. It's collectively, how do we together, let's do it together. And so if you don't trust your employees, then you need to be able to find out ways that you can recognize their specific skills that they have and leverage their skill set. And that way, you're gonna be able to accomplish more together as a team. Sherm's out. Hey there, everybody. Had a fantastic podcast today on today's Tuesday, so a lot of you might not know that I do work it in themes. So Mondays, leadership, Tuesdays, career progression, Wednesdays, motivation, Thursdays, social media, and then Fridays, personal development. So today, focus on what do we as employers look for when it comes to candidates. What are things that you can be doing? Number one is understand that some employers might be using a staffing firm for specific positions. So even though you're applying online, unless that staffing firm and that organization are sharing that feed, your resume is not getting seen by anybody. You're just applying online. The other thing that I find difficult is that a lot of times people's resumes are more like job descriptions instead of what you've accomplished. And so that's where it becomes a little bit different. The key words, you want to be able to identify the job description with what you've done, but then show the results. Also, look for the value of networking with others. Sherm's out. All right, everybody, you might not know the story about Play-doh, but the gentleman Noah McVicker that had started a company, and they were selling something called Cut-All. It was this clay-like material that was used to be able to clean wallpaper. It was created for Kroger grocery stores back in the 1930s. And then after World War II, so in the 1940s, all of a sudden vinyl wallpaper came out, and then also they moved from coal that was heating up houses to more of a natural gas. And so all of a sudden, Cut-All was in the dyers of bankruptcy. So Noah hires his nephew, John McVicker, who has a sister-in-law named Sue Zufalls, and she realizes that her kids, she's an elementary school teacher, enjoyed playing with Play-Doh. And so what seemed like a total failure just became repurposed, and they sold over 3 million of this by the 1950s. Sherm's out. So the story of Play-Doh. Noah McVickers was running a company, Cut-All, and it was a soap-based company, and they were selling a lot of cleaning supplies, particularly for wallpaper. They used a clay-like substance that would be able to be applied to wallpaper and be able to just basically take off a lot of the soot. But back in the 1940s, after World War II, vinyl wallpaper was introduced so it could be cleaned with soap and water, no longer needing the clay-based material to be able to wipe up the soot, also introducing natural gas. So in the thralls of bankruptcy, Noah hired his nephew Joe, who came on board, who had a sister-in-law named Kay Zufall, who was a nursery teacher, and the kids liked playing with the wallpaper clay, and they eventually then colored it, called it Play-Doh, had Captain Kangaroo then educate people on how to use Play-Doh. That's how it turned around. Great story about Play-doh. Wonderful story about being flexible and being not rigid. So a lot of people might not know that Noah McVicker started Cut-All cleaning supplies, which was used as a clay to be able to clean off wallpaper. But all of a sudden, back in the 40s, this company started in the 30s. I don't like it. All right, here we go. The story of Play-Doh. A lot of people don't know that this story is really about being flexible and not too rigid, puns intended. So what happened was, back in the 1930s, Noah McVicker started the company focused on cleaning supplies, Cut-All. And in particular, what they focused in on was cleaning wallpaper, and they had basically this clay that could get soot off of the wallpaper. But all of a sudden, after World War II, vinyl wallpaper was created, and with soap and water, you could clean the wallpaper, and also it moved from charcoal and coal in order to clean the house to natural gas. In the midst of almost bankruptcy, Noah hires his nephew, Joe McVicker, who has a sister-in-law named Kay Zufall, who's a nursery teacher, who said the clay that was used was perfect for children. They enjoyed it. And so what all of a sudden became a failure became a success when they added color to it and marketed it to the right people who could still use it. Turns out. Hey there, everybody. The great story of Play-Doh is about being flexible and not too rigid. So what had happened back in the 1930s is Noah McVicker started a company, Cut-All, focused on cleaning supplies. In particular, one that was this clay that was used to clean wallpaper. But fast forward after the World War II, vinyl wallpaper was introduced and natural gas in heating homes, so no longer was the Cut-All cleaning supply used. And so in the midst of bankruptcy, Noah hires his nephew, Joe McVickers, who has a sister-in-law named Kay Zufall, who says the cleaning supply, this clay, is being utilized by her nursery-age kids, and they really enjoy it. So they added some color, they marketed it differently. So what all of a sudden became a cleaning clay became a children's toy. Turns out. Hey there, everybody. The story of Play-Doh is one of flexibility and open-mindedness and connections. So first off, back in the 1930s, Noah McVicker started this company, Cut-All Cleaning Supplies, and was focused on one of their products through Kroger grocery store was to be able to have a clay that was used to be able to wipe soot off of wallpaper. Fast forward, after World War II, natural gas and vinyl wallpaper was introduced, which now you could clean the wallpaper with soap and water. The product now was being left on the shelf. How in the midst of bankruptcy, Noah hires his nephew, Joe, to be able to come in and turn the business around. He has a sister-in-law who's a nursery teacher, and her students enjoy playing with this clay that was used for wallpaper. They add color to it, they market it on Captain Kangaroo, and the rest, so they say, is history. Being flexible, being able to go where the need is. Turns out. Hey there, everybody. End of the day. Had a wonderful day. Things went real well. Feel a little bit better. Still got a little bit of a cough. Not too bad on the runny nose side. So I was able to get to 8 o'clock meeting. Was able to meet with, he's in banking. Really found a passion for that and really saw the value of being able to understand how debt can play a role in a business to help them expand and grow. And so I find for a lot of people, when you truly understand what is beneficial for a lot of the different products and services that exist out there, then you can start helping out those that you care about and those that you think can value how those products and services can fit into their overall plan, not only from a business perspective, but also from a personal standpoint. And then after that meeting, had a phone call, ended up missing it, had to send an email to who I had a phone call with and answering a lot of the questions they had. It was just a follow-up from the marketing that I had last week, the open house. And so a lot of times when it comes to marketing, I want to look at, okay, how much dollars are being spent, how much time is being spent, and then what is our benefit from that? How many meetings are being kept? How many businesses are being sold because of it? And so it's definitely something that you monitor. Okay, here's our cost in, and then what's our ROI over the next six months. So check in at 90 days, check in again at 6 months. And then after that, had a lunch meeting downtown with an attorney. On the way driving down there, I was talking to my buddy of mine, dealing with a huge snowstorm in central Wisconsin. And it's funny just because not too long ago I was having a conversation with him about what should I be doing, looking at my skill sets, my passions, should it be here in central Wisconsin. And so here he is, basically a year later, having the exact same conversation, except now it's from his perspective about what he wants to be doing. And when it comes to leadership, a lot of times your leadership culture can make or break how things are, and it either inspires people to continue to deliver, or unfortunately it demotivates them to wanting to be a part of the organization now and in the future. So the lunch meeting was great. Met with an attorney, really getting a feel of where he's coming from and what he's doing, and really hearing his passion for what he's doing, which is really exciting. After that meeting, came back to the office, met with talk about the marketing for one of the new team members, about what they want to be doing and how they want to move forward. Talked to another team member about kind of what he's going to be doing, how he's getting involved with this the local rodeo. It's massive, Houston rodeo, so that's exciting to kind of hear his passion, his experience in that, and seeing if there's some opportunities to really leverage that for business. And finished off with a phone call with one of my corporate partners up in Omaha, and then finally finished off with a phone call with the managing partner. He and I were able to have a longer conversation, so I was just talking with him about some different things that were on my mind, and really just want to align my overall 5-year plan with his 5-year plan to be able to make sure that I can continue to deliver more value than what we expect. So if his vision is, X, and then he divides it by the 5 different offices, I want mine to be 2 times my counterparts. That way, because I'm competitive, I want to beat them, and not only beat them, but I want to crush them in a good way. In my mind, the abundance mentality, the rising tide raises all boats. Sherman's out.
Locked and loaded, nobody safe around me. I'm about to spread, I'm rowdy. Pipe it up, run it up, count it up. Ice on my wrist, I'm drowning. I bet I lift and I light it up.